So, hi everyone. Um, Welcome to today's live. So, we are going to be talking about opportunities for nurses in the UK. Today we have a guest. His name is Paul Simiyu. He'll introduce himself, but his name is Paul Simiyu. He's the founder of KenyanNurse, an agency that takes nurses to the UK and things like that. So, yeah, Paul, do you want to introduce yourself first before you get started?
Sure. Thank you so much, Cynthia, and it's a pleasure being here with you. It's one of those moments that I get hosted by one of the prolific young nurses in Kenya, and the main passion that we share actually is going to be is going to be shown today. So, for those of you who are getting to hear from me first time, my name is Simiyu Paul, and I'm always calling myself Small Paul RN because I'm a registered nurse both in Kenya and in the United Kingdom. So, in terms of where I come from, my home county is Trans Nzoia County. I've schooled in Sihendu Primary School. Later on, moved to Msharage Primary School. From there, I moved to Kikwamet Primary School. Those of you who come from those areas can easily recognize those names. From those primary schools, when I moved to Lodwa Boys High School, which I did not manage to survive the harsh climate. It's when I moved to Maliki Secondary School, just on the highway from Kitale to Bungoma. And it's through that journey that I was able to join Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology. And that time it was a constituent college of Eldoret University, Moi University in Eldoret. And it's where I did my Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, that is from the year 2010 to 2014. While in campus, I happened to participate in several activities that were engineered towards the promotion of nursing students and also preparedness of those students to face life after they have qualified. So we engineered the formation of various associations that were majorly nursing centered. And it's from there that I actually discovered that nursing is not just going to be a career to me. It's not going just to be a profession to me. It's going to be part of my life. And from there, I've had this strong passion, strong will for nurses, for nursing profession. I've walked the same journey that most nurses are walking through. I've hustled, I've gone through challenges, I've faced county government employment. I remember after my school, that is in 2014, I managed to secure a job in a private institution. I won't mention the name, but I'll mention the life I went through there. The private institution offered me a starting salary of 18,000 after my Masinde Muliro University education. So it's from there that I felt like there is something not adding up. The service I'm providing is much more quality. Myself, I had that confidence in whatever I was providing. And the remuneration that I got later on was not really adding up to the output I was having. I moved on to do now my internship. Those of you who have done BSN will easily appreciate whenever they hear the word internship. So we struggle. I remember championed the allocation of BSN interns to their centers of choice. Before me, majority of the BSNs were thrown wherever they could actually be thrown, and no one had a choice where they are actually to practice their internship. And I championed for the interns to be placed a place of their choice. And that is when we said the term allotment. And we did a lot of mobilization, and we managed to be placed to places where we wanted, especially at that time. The counties had just started. It means each and every person was looking forward to go back to their county so that they increase chances of their employment. And funny enough, personally, I come from Trans Nzoia. I wanted to go back to Trans Nzoia County so that I have 100 chances of getting employed. So the strategy was, how do we ensure that our employment is guaranteed? Majority of my colleagues who went to Kericho County, who went to Nakuru County, who went to Kakamega County, were lucky enough. They got a chance to be employed as the first team of BSNs to be employed by county government. At that time, the counties were employing about 40, 50 BSNs, and they were among them. But personally, I wasn't lucky. At the time we applied to Trans Nzoia County for employment, I remember we were taken in circles. Public Service Commission, the County Service Commission, the governor, the director of nursing, and all those kind of circles you'll be taken through. So I went through those circles, and I wasn't lucky to be employed in my own county. I remember at one point I took a team of BSNs to the governor's residence, that is Professor Hayemba. And the only thing he gave me was a note of 500, which I still remember, a note of fresh, new 500 shillings. And funny enough, I used the same amount of money now to go to Ortum. I used the same note, 500 note. Now I went to Ortum, where I had a good friend who is the principal of Ortum Mission Hospital School of Nursing, and I got a job there as a tutor. And from that moment is when my career started. At that point, I was elevated to become the head of academics, and I had to mingle with several people, nursing council, various institutions, regulatory bodies, and later on, I moved to the current hospital, mm, medical college, where I worked for 2 years. While there, I also happened to participate in the marking of nursing council exam. And I'm happy now they have changed how they are delivering the exam. It's not the manual, the outdated system. They have adopted the new system, which is the best way to go. And those are the things that when you look backward as a young nurse, you appreciate the efforts you have participated in to ensure that at least nursing is moving from one step to another step. So current hospital actually exposed me in a way, because if you are working or some mission hospital and someone else is working in the current hospital, believe me, the kind of exposure is somehow different, as much as people will deny, but the kind of people you meet, the kind of information you come into contact really differs. So at current hospital, I happened to get a chance to mingle with several nurses who are processing overseas, and I happened to start assisting so many at that time. Remember, even my colleagues who are working together, I happened to support them so much, and some moved to Ireland, some moved to US, and some came to UK. So from current hospitalized, when I moved to the United Kingdom, that was in 2018. And as a young nurse, I had several ambitions. And one of the biggest ambition I had is how can we actually liberalize information for nurses? So I've walked the journey. I struggle with IELTS. Those of you who will actually come to understand the journey to UK, you have to pass IELTS with the highest scores. Actually, you have to get among the highest scores apart from in one section. So I happen to have also struggled the way some of you are struggling, the way some of you are actually scared of. I was also scared. I did my IELTS 4 times. So every time I was doing IELTS, I was spending money. So I started paying IELTS. At that time, it was about 19,000, actually 280. And the last time I did the fourth time, it was actually 22,000. So each and every time I was doing IELTS, when you go back, the fee has gone up. When you go back, the fee has gone up. And the more harder it became, but I never gave up. It's from that hassle, from those struggles that I thought of, is it possible for us as nurses, after we have walked this journey, to create a center, to create a forum, to create a point where other nurses can be supported through the same journey we have walked through? And that is when I started actually training myself, nurses, to prepare for IELTS. I remember the first 3, 4 classes, I was single-handedly training them, and they delivered excellent results as compared to the previous results I had myself. I remember one of the candidates scored some 8.5, an average of 8.5 with 9 reading, 9 listening, 8.5 in writing, and so forth. So the demand became too much, and I felt like I'm not delivering as per the demand. And so when I brought in more people to help me train, and it's from there I can say the rest is history. As we speak now, we have a movement, we have a revolution. I always feel like it's not a company, it's a revolution, it's an idea
Mhm.
that whose time had come. and the idea of us nurses actually accepting to be called nurses, us nurses having our title as registered nurse, us nurses having somewhere we call home called KenyanNurse, where we actually don't discuss all about pathophysiology, but we are discussing on how can we better ourselves by accessing opportunities. And with that, that is when the name KenyanNurse came up. And KenyanNurse is an idea that actually originated from the ward I'm working in the UK. When I was serving my patients, so each and every time I could smile to patients, serve, give them best care, and every time when I'm passing around the corridor, I'll tell other colleagues, "Would you mind to call for me that Kenyan nurse? Would you mind to call for me that Kenyan nurse?" So the voice I was getting from patients here and there, every time you are in whichever point a patient is mentioned, that Kenyan nurse, that Kenyan nurse, and that is where I feel like, why not call it Kenyan nurse? It's a feeling, it's a revolution, it's a movement, it's a new way of nursing. And as we speak, Kenya Nurse has delivered to more than 200 nurses to UK. Kenya Nurse has made nursing become a new profession. Kenya Nurse has become a center for or a heart for nurses, and with that, it's only God that we can thank. And we look forward to support as many nurses to overseas, not only to UK. And we pray that we get more opportunities in other overseas countries. But for now, our strength is much more in the UK, and we are trying to liberalize information so much so that that nurse from Orutum can get equal opportunity as that nurse from Mata Hospital. That nurse from Kilifi in those far ends of Kenya can be at the same level as that nurse who is in other places like Nairobi, Mombasa, and so forth. So that is me in Simbo. And in UK, I've also had to experience some career growth in my nursing profession. I started as a junior nurse, and that is a pre-registered nurse as usual. After that, I moved to a fully registered nurse now, a nurse who is band 5 in the NHS. We actually are categorized in terms of band. And recently, I was promoted to become a senior registered nurse, and that is a nurse in charge. It means as a nurse in charge, you are responsible for the ward shift. You're responsible to run a shift. You're responsible to organize your team to ensure that you deliver the quality care. So, with the kind of journey you have seen, you realize it's possible, and that is the essence of this conversation, to make it simple, to break it down for other nurses to also feel that they can do it, they can walk the same journey. Back to you, Cynthia.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So most of the nurses here, when someone thinks about going to the UK, the first question, of course, it's the requirements. Like what tests do I need to have? What are the steps involved? How much money do I need to have? Like just the basic requirements. So do you mind taking us through, like someone who just now is thinking, okay, I want to go to the UK or, to relocate to work there. So what are the requirements that are needed? Yeah. And the costs. Yeah.
I know that is the principal question in each and every nurse mind, and I'll start from this point.
Yeah.
Why overseas? Because in Kenya, as I said earlier, I was working as a lecturer in one of the five-star hospital. It was a growing hospital. We had lots of prospects, and I was already working with nursing council as a partner, actually examiner. So professionally, I wasn't doing that bad. Financially, I can't say I was that poor. I was able to sustain my lifestyle. But why did I make a mind to say, I think I can explore opportunities somewhere else? I think nursing is universal. And being a universal profession, it means you can choose where to train from, you can choose where to work, and it depends on their level of vision. So those nurses who feel that wherever they are practicing is not at their level of vision, they still can think of also working in other counties, working in other countries, working overseas. And when you come to overseas, there are various countries that actually are looking for nurses globally, especially with the issue of now coronavirus. The demand for healthcare providers has skyrocketed. And with that, it means nurses are now like the new gold. Nursing is actually becoming the new oil that was a lucrative product in some years, but nursing is the new call. People are now actually now looking for nurses. If you want to testify that, just go online and look at how many agencies have mushroomed, especially from UK, from US. There are lots of agencies, and that shows that nursing is now lucrative.
Mm,
If you are going to actually notice that, the earlier you notice that, the better, because you can now position yourself and grow yourself professionally, grow yourself financially. So we have various overseas countries that nurses can go to. And the topmost, obviously, most of the nurses will tell you, the United States of America, which is always, however much the dream of America has gone down, but the American dream still can be actually revived. Majority of those of you who have American dream, the US is there, quite open with 52 or moving to 54 states, and it can't fill up
mm,
everyone. It can't fill up the slots. The slots will always be many. Then we come to Canada, one of the best country in
mm,
terms of for those professional nurses. We move from Canada to Australia. From Australia, you come to UK. From UK, you go to Ireland. Ireland, there is also another country just besides Australia, known as New Zealand. Then another country in Europe called Malta. Those are among the 7
mhm,
countries that actually are really doing well in terms of overseas nursing. So as a nurse, you have those options. You can make a choice where you want
mhm,
to practice. But from my experience, I've had to prepare nurses to different all those countries. I've friends in all those different countries. I've compared information and I've come to a conclusion that it depends on your circumstance, on why do you want to
mm,
choose whichever country. One, do you have enough resources? Two, do you have enough patience to wait?
mhm,
Three, actually, do you have the energy? The process is not that easy as people think. It's not that ABC. It's just like nursing journey. It's sweet. It's possible. It's doable, but it needs commitment. So among all these countries, I'll say UK has proved to be one of the easiest, fastest, and
mhm,
actually cheapest
mhm,
process that any nurse can actually
mhm,
engage in. When you mention about how cheap it is, I'll tell you, if you're a nurse, you don't need to start with so much. You just need to start with your availability of your internet, the bundles. Are you able to access online? Can you do some exercise through YouTube? Can you start your English preparation by yourself, or can you form a team of people and support yourself? If you don't want to do that, you can join KenyanNurse, which has
mhm,
a fabulous team to support you through IELTS preparation with only 10,000. So with your bundles, that is the starting point. If you have those internet bundles, that is where your resource is. From there, you only need a maximum of 100,000. And this
mm,
100,000, you're not supposed to pay at once. You can start with 10,000, you go to 5,000 for passport, you go to 1,000 for good conduct, like that. At the end, it accumulates to 100,000. So with that, any nurse from whichever health center, from whichever dispensary, from whichever uh, hospital level 6 and so forth, believe me, can process the journey. It's fast
mhm,
because you only need about 3 months.
mm,
You only need 3 months, as I'll explain
mhm,
later, why those 3 months to process to UK. If you are so fast, you can actually today
mhm,
be working in Kiambu County, and next month you're working in Kent
mhm,
County. So in the
mm,
UK. So that is how fast it is. And it's efficient,
mm,
easy,
mhm,
because the support system is everywhere. As much as KenyanNurse has come up with a rigorous support system, other agencies in other countries like India, like those that are already in UK, they are
mhm,
really have created a good support system. So you'll never
mm,
get lost. You'll never lack support. So with that, it makes
mm,
it easy for you. And I've even had a joke with some nurses that one day you can just actually be in your current employment, and the next day you tell your boss, I'm flying.
yeah.
That is how easy it is without your boss noticing what you are doing and what you are involved in. So UK has proved to be that easy, faster, and so cheap, and it can accommodate all kinds of nurses. There are no limitation. Remember, in the UK, you don't need any experience. You just need to
Mm,
be registered by Nursing Council. In UK,
mhm,
there's no age limit. You have worked in
mhm,
Kenyatta National Hospital, you have retired, and you realize you need now to do something for your next generation. You bring them to
yeah.
UK. With those, it means it's an open system for anyone who is willing.
Mm,
Remember, the UK process is sponsored. If it were not sponsored, people will be spending about 600,000. But since it is sponsored, it now comes down to 100,000. So that is how, and those are the reasons why any nurse should choose UK this time. You never know, things might change tomorrow, and laws in each and every countries are formed each and every time. But for now, the laws are favoring the overseas nurses to come to UK. Make use of that time. Don't waste this time. I don't want us in the next 10 years someone to say, I wish I knew. Ningalijua. Sometimes wanasema itakuja baadaye. So don't wait until that time when you say, I wish I knew. Start now. It's your time. As I've always been encouraging nurses, it's your time. It's our generation. It's our new nursing. It's not the kind of nursing that was there some 10 years ago, some 5 years ago. No, this is ours. It's our opportunity. It's our time. Let's embrace it. Let's smile. Let's go for it. And believe me, we are going to be a different kind of generation in the nursing profession. So what do you need? What is the process? Let's try to simplify it in a simplified manner. For you to actually practice in the UK, you need to have applied for registration with the regulatory body in the UK known as Nursing and Midwifery Council of UK. For them, for you to apply, they need you to actually, first of all, prove that you are a nurse. It means, how do you prove that you are a nurse? You need to have done nursing council exam. You need to have secured either a license or a certificate. I know nursing council is issued certificate after some time, like after 2 weeks, after some few months. But if you have secured the license, it's a proof that you are in the register of Nursing Council of Kenya, or Nursing Council of Nigeria, Nursing Council of Uganda, Nursing Council of Tanzania, Nursing Council of Malawi, whichever country you practice in. So after you have proved that, you also need to prove that you can actually communicate in English. Communication is all about listening, it's all about speaking, it's all about writing, and it's all about reading, because you're coming to serve patients who will only communicate to you through English. I understand majority of our African countries the nurses have been prepared in English. So with that, it means they are so good in English, they just need to prove. I know we actually tried to convince NMC to recognize that we were trained in English, but it became hard, and that is why we are still doing highlights. So the next thing is now for you to prove that you can do English. And how do you prove? By doing two exams, either of the two exams. The first one is English exam, and someone might ask, what is IELTS exam? IELTS is that International English Language Testing System. It's a system that enables these countries to understand that you are able to actually read, write, and listen or speak in English. And you also need to prove by showing that you can also prove by doing another exam called OET for nurses. OET is an occupational English test for nurses that is specifically meant to apply in nursing languages, but combining nursing and English. It's called OET. It's one of the easiest exam around. I know the other countries like Nigeria, South Africa, Botswana can be able to access because they have exam centers in Nigeria and South Africa, and also Egypt. But the good news is this: those exam centers are going to be open up now to be online. It means someone is going to be able to sit for the exam while still at home. Cynthia, are you able to get me? Cynthia?
Yes. Yeah, I'm getting you.
Okay, so what I had said is, it is now going to open up since the next few months, like June, July, they're going to start having it done online. It means you can do it while you're in your residence. So with that, many candidates will now be able to access. So nurses who are from Kenya, just be on the alert. I'll be communicating when is the OET going to be started. So those are the only things that you need to prove. Once you have proved that, the employer will actually be able to take you so fast and give you a job, and you come to UK. But these are the things that are basic. Can we now recap, and can we try to understand what is the process? Where should I start? Maybe someone is asking himself, where should I start? So the first thing you need to do is make a choice. that you want to practice in overseas.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a hard decision for everyone, and those only who are courageous are the ones who can be able to make that
Mm-hmm.
decision. One, because the way you have been trained, the way you have been brought up, the way you are practicing, do you have confidence in your skills that you can now take it up globally? You know, some of us are not processing because we are scared of our skills. So have you upped up your skills to a point that you have confidence that you are able to practice globally? If you can be able to give yourself that answer and say yes, the next step will now be which country, based on your personal situation, look at your financial situation, look at your family situation. Some countries might not be comfortable for your family. Look at all other factors involved in terms of the journey, in terms of the support system, then make a choice. If you have to choose UK, for example, after you have made a decision that it's UK, the next thing that you need to do is now to start with English. Are you able to
Mm-hmm.
do English by yourself? Do you need someone to support you in terms of English? Do you
Mm-hmm.
uh, need to join a training point? Those are the decisions you make. If you are able to do it by yourself, you just need to have a good phone which is able to access YouTube. Then you go to YouTube, you start searching IELTS listening. You get various samples of IELTS listening materials. You listen to them, you practice. You go online again, you search IELTS reading, academic. Ensure you always
Mm-hmm.
ensure that you involve the word academic so that you get the right kind of uh, question sets. So you can practice by yourself online. If you can not practice by yourself, you can have friends who you school together, who you're working together, a team of two people. You can start preparing and support each other. If you can't get those two people, three people from your work, from your school, from your uh, closest friends, then do you need to join any WhatsApp group that is having such discussions? I've seen several nurses are coming together, they join a WhatsApp group, then they support themselves. They mark for themselves, they do everything by themselves. If you are not able to access that kind of support system, we are welcome you to KenyanNurse. Come to us. We have able trainers who have experience, who are the pioneers of this training, who have every insight of IELTS. They can even tell you which exam is going to come by when. And when you go to an exam, you get the exact question, you get the exact exam, you pass, you get 9, you get 8.5. And then people wonder, how did you get 8.5? Because you're prepared by the best, and that is Kenyanas. Then, after you have prepared for IELTS and you feel that you are ready,
Mm-hmm.
you need now to book for the exam. There are two centers that you can use to book the exam. We have what we call British Council, which has been the predominant center for exam booking. And then we also have IELTS, IDP IELTS, which is owned by Australia and so forth. It's also in Nairobi. And the two institutions are offering the exam in different days. You can choose based on your availability. And the British Council has several exam centers. They have an exam center in Nairobi. They have an exam center in Mombasa. They have an exam center in Eldoret, I mean. There are plans to have another one in Kisumu. So whenever those plans will materialize, I'll be the first one to break that information, and we shall be able to utilize those centers. IDP IELTS has only one exam center that is in Nairobi, and they are offering only one exam module. That is, they are only offering computer-based IELTS, while British Council is offering both paper-based and computer-based. So with that, you have a variety to choose from. So
Yep.
once you have now booked your exam, you can do it by yourself. And if you are struggling, we also have established a support system at that point where we can book an exam for you. I understand some of us do not have ATM cards. Some of us have ATM cards that do not accept online payment. And with those hassles, you get to struggle so much. Don't struggle. Come to us. We shall support you. We do everything for you. We pay for you. We ensure that you are able to actually continue working from your current employment without interfering with your work while your processes are going on without delays. So once you have booked your exam, you wait the exam date. You can do it. If it's computer based, you wait for 5 days, you get your results. If it's paper-based, you wait for 13 days. That is the longest period that I've ever waited in my life. 13 days after your IELTS exam.
Mhm.
It's like 13 years. You actually be anxious, you'll be uncomfortable, but you will get your results on your 13th day. So once you have got your results, you now can start doing what we call interview searching. So you can apply directly. You now need to do interview. I know someone will ask me, what about NMC CBT? I'll come to that. You now need to apply for interview with your IELTS certificate.
Mhm.
So how do you apply interviews? There are various agencies on Facebook, online, YouTube, from different countries. All of them are bringing candidates to UK. Make a mind, don't be everywhere, because when you are everywhere, remember these agencies are sending your CV to one point, to one employer. So if your CV is getting alterated by each and every agency and is getting received by several agencies, you lose what we call candidate credibility. So with the candidate credibility, it means the employers will not be comfortable taking you up. That is why you see some candidates delaying however much they started earlier. So you can apply directly through NHS, and there is an online system known as track system. Those who are interested will look for me, and then I can share those links. So you can apply directly to Medway, for
Mhm.
example, hospital. You can apply to whichever trust. That is one option. The second option, you can now send your IELTS
Mhm.
to an agency. The agency will look for a job for you. Then you do the interview. So that is interview searching. Then, as you are doing the searching of jobs, immediately you need to register for NMC. Create an account with NMC, start
Mhm.
applying for verification through Nursing Council, submit your documents that are required, get your referees or people who have recommended you fill in the online forms or online information requested by NMC. So as you are searching for jobs, you are actually
Mhm.
also creating your account with
Mhm.
NMC. So with NMC, you will need to have your diploma or degree certificate. You'll need to have your license, whichever regulatory body that you have registered with, either a license or a certificate. Then those two
Mhm.
documents, you need to top up with a birth certificate or a passport, any identification document. So those are the three main important documents that you need for NMC account
Mhm.
creation. So those documents,
Mhm.
you will actually attach them online as photos, not as documents, yes, but as photos. Once you have attached as photos, NMC now will
Mhm.
send a link to
Mhm.
Nursing Council. The link is to just request Nursing Council. It's just like an email. Hello, Nursing Council, my friend. How are you? This Simiyu Paul
Mhm.
is claiming to have registered with you and is claiming to be
Mhm.
in your register. Are you able to prove
Mhm.
to us that Simiyu Paul is in your register? And tell us
Yeah.
if he is a competent nurse. Then NCK will respond back, hello NMC, my great friend. I can prove that Simi Polaren is a registered
Mhm.
nurse in Kenya, has
Mhm.
actually meet all the requirements that are meant for a nurse to be in our register, and this is the
Mhm.
details that we have about him. Please welcome him to UK, and
Mhm.
your link will be sent back to NMC. You'll now be verified. When you're now verified, NMC will send what we call competency invitation letter. Now they invite you. Hello, Simi. We are happy to be assured that you are a registered nurse in Kenya. Now, we wish to welcome you to our register also, so that you can be in 2, 3 registers. They will now tell you, you need to do this exam for you to be in our register. That is NMC CBT and OSCIS. That is an objective structured
Okay.
clinical assessment tests. So once they invite you, that is the most important email, because they have now approved you that you can be in their register. So with that, you now book the CBT exam. They send your details to another exam organizer known as Pearson
Mhm.
VU. However, the exam organizer is going to change from August to another
Mhm.
exam organizer. Not so
Mhm.
many things will change. We shall get the communication always. So once they send your information to Pearson VU, Pearson VU will send 2 emails to you. Those 2 emails are just your account creation emails, username and password. Once you have that one, you now can book the exam. When you book the exam, you'll be given dates that are available. You can choose whichever date. And as we speak, Kenyan candidates have consumed all dates in Kenya up to July. For now, we are managing to get dates in July. We are convincing them to give us more dates because we have more candidates. And from there, the new system will end of July. So it means from August, the new system will be set in and candidates will be able to book now dates from there. However, don't get scared. You can book an exam in Uganda, you can book an exam in Tanzania, and you can be able to do exam in such place, in such centers. So you have done your NMC-CBT, you have done your IELTS, and you have submitted those to the employer. As we said, you have already been searching for the job immediately after your IELTS. Don't delay job searching. So you have your interview, you have your IELTS, you have your CBT. Once everything is done, you have secured the interview, you have passed the interview, you have the job offer. Now the employer will take up from there. And that's the fastest point now. The employer will request you to supply uh, every proof that you train in nursing, that is your academic diploma or degree, not transcript. People are confusing here. Just diploma or degree certificate. Employer will need to know your birth certificate. Employer will need to know your passport, all those documents. Once you submit the documents, the employer will actually apply for COS, certificate of sponsorship. You remember, Cynthia, I told you the UK journey is sponsored, and that is when that document is required. It's a guarantee. The employer is acting as your guarantor that I am standing in on behalf of this candidate, and this is my commitment. And the commitment is that certificate of sponsorship, COS. So with that COS, Ukitembea Airport, you're like the queen, you're like the king. And that's when I was in campus, I was told by my Professor Okos, that when you are a nurse, when you are at the airport, everyone will pave you. Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. And how do you actually achieve that? By having that COS. You won't be delayed in terms of interview for visa. Your process will be straight. So after you have got the COS, the employer will request you now to apply for the medical test. And whenever you speak of medical test, we're not speaking about all those medical tests. We're only speaking about one, that is TB test, which is done in Kigiri, Nairobi. The point of testing is only one in Nairobi. They are quite controlled. Some are expensive, so about 13,400. So the employer will request you to go and apply for the TB. When you have the TB, you communicate back to your employer. The employer has given you the COS. You have proof that you have TB, you have IELTS, you have all your documents. The employer will now apply for your visa. Get the point? You're not applying for your visa. The employer applies for you and pays for you.
Yeah.
Then employer only gives you an appointment. You choose a date with the visa collection point, that is TLC in Westlands. So the employer gives you an appointment at the visa appointment center in Nairobi. And remember, we have two visa appointment centers. We have Nairobi, we have Mombasa. So you can choose either to attend your visa appointment in Nairobi or Mombasa. And when I speak about visa appointment, those who have gone to US embassies, they understand, and they really understand it from a harsh point. Visa appointment for US is quite rigorous, but for UK, it's just document submission. You're just going to submit your documents. And then after you have submitted your documents, you're going to do some fingerprint. You're going to have a photo being taken, and you're done. No questions. Someone is not going to question you. Do you have any loan with any bank? Have you had any problem with any person? Have you had? No. What is your intention of coming to UK? No, you are a registered nurse. We need you in UK. So they are going not to ask you those questions. They're only going to take your photo. They're going to take your fingerprints. Then they are going to take your documents. Then you go back home. So once you have applied visa, you have attended the appointment, you wait for the visa, which takes about 7 to 21 days. With 7 to 21 days, you will be able now to be issued with the visa. I know it's processed in South Africa, And that is why we have that 7 to 21 days. However, you can apply for priority, which comes to 5 days to 7 days. And there is also a super priority, which is about some 24 hours, and you get
Yeah.
your visa. So
Mm.
immediately you have your
Yeah.
visa, you will now be given a reporting date by the employer. The employer will tell you are supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be here by 10th of August, 10th of July, 10th of June. Then
Mm-hmm.
the employer applies for you the travel ticket. I know the issue of restriction for travel has been in existence, but that is to other professions, not to nurses. Nurses have been traveling
Mm.
even through COVID period, through red list period, and all these periods. So provided you are an essential healthcare provider, you will actually be given the ticket. Various agencies are using various airlines. Some of them are using KLM, some of them are using British Airways, but it now stopped because they're not coming directly. So you'll go to maybe
Yeah.
Netherlands, you go to Abu Dhabi, you go to other countries, then come now to UK,
Mm-hmm.
which is about 8 hours. And if you got through
Mm-hmm.
Abu Dhabi, it may take up to 12, 20 hours. So you have your ticket, you have your visa, you have academic documents. Here you fly to UK.
Mm-hmm.
When you come to UK, we understand you are new. We
Mm-hmm.
understand you have come from overseas. You understand
Yeah.
that you need support. The employer is going to give you support. One, you're going to be quarantined because of COVID requirements. You're going to be quarantined. Since you are a healthcare provider, it's not going to be in a government facility. It's going to be the employer's facility. And that is what makes it much more easier
Mm.
and much more comfortable in terms of finances. So you'll be quarantined for 10 days. On your second day, you'll be tested for COVID.
Mm-hmm.
On your eighth day, you'll be tested for COVID, and they'll provide you enough support during that period of 10 days.
Mm.
After your 10 days of quarantine,
Mm-hmm.
you'll now be taken back to your employer's residence. They'll give you accommodation for at least 1 month. Some employers will give you up to 6 months. Some employers can even give you
Mm.
unlimited. You only stay 6 months without paying. After that, you start paying us at a subsidized fee.
Okay.
So that is the kind of
Mm.
support in terms of accommodation, in terms of, for
Yeah.
example, adaptation. They'll take you through in-house
Mm-hmm.
training. Those in-house trainings are just to enable you accommodate, adapt so that you can start delivering your care as early as possible. And as you are doing those induction processes, you'll also be prepared for OSCIS, which is the final exam. OSCIS
Mm-hmm.
is not that hard as people might think. OSCIS is so simple. The first thing in OSCIS, the principal thing in OSCIS is hand washing. And everyone does hand washing, especially if you come from Western Kenya. You do hand washing 7 times per day, and it's
Uh,
a skill that
yeah.
we have. So when they tell you to hand wash within 30 seconds, we have been doing it
Mm.
within 2 seconds. So
Yeah.
you have been taken through nursing school. We all understand the WHO steps of hand washing. After hand washing,
Yeah.
there are other principal areas that you need to understand. It's about wound dressing, it's about
Mm-hmm.
vital signs, observation,
Mm-hmm.
taking, and so forth, assessments. Those are the things.
Mm-hmm.
They're so simple for
Yeah.
any. The test is meant to assess a new nurse who has just
Mm-hmm.
qualified from school. So they're not going to test you with advanced setups. No, basic setups. How
Mm-hmm.
do you approach a patient? How do you access information in terms of vital signs? Then, how
Mm-hmm.
do you do wound dressing? How do you
Mm-hmm.
collect urine sample? How do
Mm-hmm.
you teach a patient on how to use inhalers and so forth? Those are the simple, basic things that are tested on OSCIS. So once you have
Mm-hmm.
done your OSCIS, you actually will have declared to have succeeded in the process of registration. Then NMC will give you what we call PIN, which in Kenya, in other countries, we call it license number. But in the
Oh,
UK, we
yeah.
call it PIN number. And that is when
Mm-hmm.
you see some other agencies will be saying, we are looking for PIN nurses.
Mm-hmm.
So before you get PIN, you are called a pre-registered nurse. You're in the
Mm-hmm.
pre-registration period. You are applying for registration. After you get PINed,
Mm-hmm.
you are going to be termed as a PIN nurse. So as a pre-registered nurse, you'll be
Mm-hmm.
at band 4. Immediately you get
Mm-hmm.
your PIN, you move to band 5. Then you progress to senior nurse, you progress to like that, and you have now your career growth, which is dependent on your situation, dependent on your choices, and so forth, which we can have another session to discuss how you can
Yeah.
have your career development plans in the UK. So basically, that's the journey. And someone might
Mm-hmm.
ask, how long can this journey take?
Yeah.
This journey can take 3 months. How?
Mm-hmm.
Start doing
Mm-hmm.
IELTS the same time you do IELTS, the same time you're registering with NMC. So as you are waiting for your 17 days, immediately you get your IELTS certificate, you'll be able to do the interview. Then you only have 1 month to fly. So that is
Mm-hmm.
how it's possible. You spend 2 months on IELTS and NMC CBT, 1 month with your employer to fly.
Mm-hmm.
Within 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
several candidates under KenyanNurse have managed to break the record of 3 months, and we are
Yeah.
really doing well in terms of that. Candidates are doing two things at a go. And one thing
Yeah.
with studentship I've learned, when you have one thing that you're only doing, at some point you
Mm-hmm.
become lazy. But when you
Mm-hmm.
have too much pressure, that is when the brain gets now involved. The brain now becomes active, and that is when your potential comes up. And I've seen those candidates who are passing IELTS are the ones even who are doing two things at a go. They're doing NMCCBT, they're also doing IELTS. So they are able
Mm-hmm.
to focus, they are able to give their best. Their brain is able now to function well. They have no
Mm-hmm.
excuse, they have no time lag. So they are able to plan themselves. So those are the candidates who can actually use 3 months. However, it's not
Mm-hmm.
strict that you take it fast. My advice to nurses, do it at your pace. I know your colleagues are doing it so fast. They started just recently, and tomorrow, bon voyage to UK. Tomorrow, they are having their photos on Facebook that are in UK. Tomorrow, they have changed the location on their Facebook location setting. Now they're in a different setup. No, peer pressure is not good.
Mm-hmm.
Walk your pace, walk your journey. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't have enough finances, move step by
Yeah.
step. If you want things to be done at your pace, just communicate and then things will be done at your pace. So don't be pushed so much until you get more pressure that you cannot handle. We are different people and we have to maintain that way. There are those who are too fast, there are those who are at their own speed. Walk your
Mm-hmm.
speed. Yeah, so that is my advice to nurses. And when you
Yeah.
look at it, it's a simple process. If there is a nurse somewhere who has not understood, or maybe might need clarification at whichever point, at whichever step, I think I'm always open and I'm always available for those questions. And we can also use this forum today to try to demystify some few things here and there to clarify and ensure that nurses are able to understand. They are able to know where they are and what step they need to do next. Back to you,
Yeah.
Cynthia.
So yeah, so we have questions from a few people. I don't know, maybe
Yes.
you'll just remember. So someone asked, so OET and IELTS go hand in hand. Like, I think they mean, is it the same thing, or do you need both, or just one? And then someone else asked, one successful, is one supposed to travel with their documents, that is school certificates or licenses? I think here you can also cover, like, one successful, what do you relocation like plan? What is required for you to carry, or licenses, things like that. So two things.
Let me
Oh,
start
you
with the
know,
first.
and IELTS. Yeah, yeah.
I can be responding to two questions at a time.
Okay. So the
Yeah.
first.
Let me start with the first question. Between OET and IELTS, do you have to do the two tests? No, the two tests are alternatives. If you
Mm-hmm.
can be able to do IELTS, it's
Mm-hmm.
also a requirement. If you can't do IELTS, you can do OET. So you either do OET or do IELTS. But majority of Kenyan nurses, Uganda nurses, the general nurses are doing IELTS because they are unable to access the OET exam center. And nurses from Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Ghana, they are able to do OET because they have OET exam centers in Nigeria and South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So the response to that is you either do one of them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number two, someone asked, immediately I've finished everything, what will I be supposed to carry? Will I carry all my original documents? This is my
Mm-hmm.
advice in terms of documentations.
Mm-hmm.
When you're traveling and you have everything ready, ensure
Mm-hmm.
that each and every document that you use, you
Mm-hmm.
applied online, you attach somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
you are carrying its original.
Mm-hmm.
If you used ID to register your account, don't
Mm-hmm.
leave it behind. carry the original. If you use the license, not the certificate, ensure you carry your license. If you use the part certificate, ensure you carry your part because when you come here, finally, when you'll be doing OSCEs, they will now go through your documentation afresh to confirm and verify the authenticity of each and every document. That is in terms of the attachments. In terms of the academic documents, I will always tell nurses to carry all the academic documents, all their certificates, starting from birth certificate, if you have a driving license, if you have degree or diploma certificate, if you have any certificate, just carry them. Because each and every point will be requested. For example, NMC wants to know whether you spent is it more than 18 years or more than 12 years? So they wish to know whether you did high school for 4 years or you did high school in 2 years as secondary school. So they need you to have done more than 12 years before you join college or university. That is one fun thing people have never understood or have never heard of. If you crash your high school or if you crash your primary school, you don't qualify. You need to have spent at least 12 years before you register for any training school. So they need you to prove with your KCPE certificate, so it's required. It will be required later. They need you to have KCSE certificate. It will be required. Not living certificates, the original academic certificates. Then they need you to have diploma or degree. Yeah. They need you to have your license and certificate. They need you now to have all those part certificate. Marriage certificate if you have. So carry any certificate that you have. It doesn't cost you anything. In terms of
it's always safe.
Other things like food stuff. I've always told people when you're coming, you're transitioning. So you don't want to come from Ugal Skuma and immediately you switch to another diet. You have to transition slowly. So you can carry some recipes. You can carry some few things that can enable you transition slowly to a new life. So I've been telling people to carry Royco, to carry whichever kind of flavors they can actually still identify with Kenyan dishes. You are supposed to carry your clothing. At least try to buy some warm clothes. And as you come here, you might not be able to purchase those things immediately because you are still learning where to purchase from. And have enough carriers in terms of bags that can enable you to carry at least those things that you require. Don't carry sharps. Don't carry lots of liquids. And ensure you also ask around what's essential in this journey before you do your packing. I know UK is not that strict as compared to other countries like Australia. In UK, you can carry some foodstuffs which will not be construed as other things. So that gives us a leeway at least to carry some foodstuffs that we can use through our adaptation period, transition period, before we change over to another diet. And in terms of families, someone will ask, you can also carry your dependents. And I know using the word carry brings a different meaning, but it's a direct translation.
Like a husband, a wife.
If you have a husband,
can you come with them?
Yeah, if you have a wife, if you have your kids, you can organize with your employer so that you come with them at the same time. However, you have to understand the cost involved because the employer only caters for you. And if the employer is to support you in terms of your dependents, the employer will only write a letter. It's called letter of undertaking. Just to confirm that, hey, this is Medway Hospital. I'm an employer of Simiyu RN, and actually I can be calling for any support whenever they need my support. That is letter of undertaking. So they only write that. It means you will pay for what will their dependents need. Your dependents will need to have done TB test. Your dependent will need to do to have passport. Your dependent will need to apply for visa. Your dependent will need to apply for a ticket. And I've done the total calculation. It comes to about 100,000 Kenya shillings which is about 700 British pounds. So you need those amount of money. If you come from Western like me, maybe you have 7, 10 dependents. That means you'll spend on each dependent 100,000. So
Yeah.
nurses who are struggling, who are transitioning, who are
Mm-hmm.
paying in bills 10,000, 4,000, might not be able to raise 700 at a go. So if you're in such a situation, don't worry. Just come, do your
Mm-hmm.
hospice. Then
Yeah.
immediately you have done your hospice, your first, all the burden is gone. You now invite your family members to join you. And that is the model most nurses are using. So whichever
Mm-hmm.
way, pick your way that you are comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
I hope
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
responded to the two questions.
Yeah. And there's another one. I did my IELTS in 2017. Is it still valid? How long are the IELTS valid
These two
for?
exams, that is IELTS and CBT, are valid for 2 years.
Ah,
Yeah, so
so it's
2017,
not
you
valid.
add roughly 2 years is 2019. So I'll invite the candidate to consider redoing IELTS.
Ah, okay. Oh, another one is asking, does this only apply to Kenyan, like Kenyan nurse? Does it only help Kenyan nurses, or you can do for Ugandans, Tanzanians, Nigerians? Like, what's your market
KenyanNurse
audience?
is a referral center for nurses. We are supporting any nurse who has the desire for overseas.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that only by the name KenyanNurse, it's
Mm-hmm.
only central in Kenya. As I told you, the history of the name KenyanNurse is how
Yeah.
the patients were terming me KenyanNurse, and that is when the name came up. But it doesn't mean that
Yeah.
we're only supporting nurses from Kenya. We are supporting nurses from Ghana. Before this call,
Mm-hmm.
I had just a meeting with other nurses from Ghana,
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria, Zimbabwe,
Yeah.
South Africa,
Mm-hmm.
Botswana.
Mm.
In literally any nurse who want to switch from
Yeah.
one country to another country. Remember, we're also getting candidates from Qatar, from Canada, from US. So
Mm-hmm.
to us, we don't have specific uh, kind of clientele. Is our
Mm-hmm.
client is any nurse who wish to practice overseas.
Uh-huh. Okay. Then there's another one asking, how possible is it for a clinical officer to work overseas? Because you're talking about nurses. I've seen you post about doctors, clinical officers, opportunities. So is it open for all medics? You know, this.
I know when we speak about overseas opportunities, they are not
Mm-hmm.
only for nurses. That's one thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that Kenya nurse has made it so conspicuous until everyone thinks it's only a nurse who can fly. No. One,
Yeah, it's not.
essential healthcare workers, starting from
Mm-hmm.
doctors. Lots of
Yeah.
doctors have, if you have gone to Kenya nurse, you realize that I normally post some jobs for doctors. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, in that way, doctors can apply directly from Kenya, directly from Ghana, directly from Nigeria, and they can come and practice in the NHS. We have
Ah.
various agencies that are supporting doctors, but maybe they
Mm-hmm.
have not accessed the Kenyan market. And that
Mm-hmm.
comes now back to us as doctors. Do we have enough audience for an agency to be attracted to? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Physiotherapists are being recruited. Some
Mm-hmm.
agencies, specifically from Philippines, from India, are recruiting physiotherapists. They are recruiting radiographers. They are recruiting. So Kenya Nurse is dealing with nurses, and
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that other cadres cannot be recruited. However,
Yeah.
clinical
Mm-hmm.
officers have no regulatory body in the UK. So it
Mm-hmm.
means their employment cannot be that straightforward, because for
Mm-hmm.
you to come, you have to get that regulatory body. And
Mm-hmm.
that is what has posed as a challenge to the clinical officers. So the options that have, and we have discussed with several clinical officers, is one, they can come as dependents. I know we have lots of friends who are clinical officers who are married to nurses, who have married
Yeah.
nurses. If you
Mm-hmm.
have such kind of asset, allow me to say that. I know traditionally in Kenya, if you say someone you are married to is an asset, is abomination. But to me, I'm myself an asset to myself.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a wife, a partner, a husband who is a
Mm-hmm.
nurse, you
Mm-hmm.
as a clinical officer can come as a dependent. Then once you are here,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be able to
Mm-hmm.
access several jobs based on your
Mm-hmm.
qualification. That's one option. Second option, if
Mm-hmm.
you have done clinical officer at degree level, you can also come and switch to do nursing in UK within 18 months. at a cost of about a maximum of 3 million. You can start with 1.5, then you need a total of 3 million at the end of the course. Then you will do nursing degree. Just for 18 months, you become a nurse, you get registered by NMC, and you start practicing. That is option 2. Option 3, you can come fresh. If you did diploma in clinical officer, you need to come fresh from Kenya, come nursing degree straight away, which will take 3 years instead of 18 months. So those are the options that we have. 2, you can apply scholarships for masters, especially master's scholarship. There are so many. Once you are here, you'll be able to access opportunities. So I know if we tell someone to go back to start training afresh, I've seen so many people become reluctant. However, I've also seen so many nurses who just started their training while I'm watching them. They've done other courses, they've done pharmacy, they've done other courses. Then later on, they switched to nursing. And as we speak, some of them, I taught them. Yeah, they are married, they have kids, they are retired, and they decide, no, I want to do something else, and something else is going to be nursing. They come to me, I direct them, they go to do nursing, and as we speak, some of them have done IELTS now. They just joined when I saw them, when I was training them. And now they are coming to UK. One of my staff, as we speak now, she's married, she has a family, alimaliza masomo. But when she came to KenyanNurse, she saw what we were doing. She saw the potential. She saw the vision. And as we speak, she enrolled in KMTC. And most of you guys know her. She's now just going to wait for 3 years. Next 3 years, she'll be in the UK as a nurse. And that's how we are changing life outside there. So those will be my responses towards a person who is a clinical officer or clinical medicine background who is to come to practice in the UK.
Perfect. So Rachel is asking, how is nursing in Ireland? Why is the concentration so much only in the US and UK?
I know most people don't know part of my history. I once stayed in Ireland for 1 year. So I know every corner in Ireland. The challenge with Ireland is employers are much more recruiting nurses who are already in Ireland. The government has not sponsored so well the recruitment. You remember I said UK has sponsored. So it means NHS is getting money from the government. In Ireland, HSC is getting money from the government, but there is no allocation for overseas recruitment. So this is how candidates are doing. The process is as simple as that one for UK. But employers are not willing to sponsor. A few of them, 1, 2, 3, they are not massive like UK. So if you have the desire to go to Ireland, you have to do everything by yourself, sponsor yourself. Then once you are there, you can now get the employer pays you after you have started working with them. That is the challenge. And as when I mentioned that when you want to start a journey, consider those factors: the cost, the process, the support system. So when you look at that, Ireland is trying to change a bit, but it's still behind in terms of creating support for overseas nurses to come and practice in Ireland. However, we have those nurses who are coming from India, Philippines, who are sponsoring themselves, who are being sponsored by agencies. Then they pay agencies later, or the agencies recoup from their salary. It's happening. Lots of them are going there, but those who are in Kenya have not managed to access because of that lack of support.
Okay. Then there's one asking, how can one come as a nurse assistant?
I missed to mention that I know those who have not done nursing, those who have done other trainings like medical lab, like social work, those who are working as nurses, auxiliary nurse staffs, and so forth. The UK government also included them as part of the shortage of occupation. And with that, it means an employer can take you from overseas if your profession or if your career is in the list of shortage of occupation. So that has been done, but the next step is now employers coming up to recruit nurses or nurse auxiliary staff from overseas. I've seen some 2, 3 agencies doing it for
Mm-hmm.
nurses, such kind of stuff from India. And the difference is you realize that
Mm-hmm.
Indian agencies have invested so much, or the Indians have invested so much in their agencies in terms
Mm-hmm.
of an agency can be recruiting nurses from India and it has enough support system in the UK. Maybe it has some ownership in some nursing homes, in some healthcare institutions. So with that, they
Mm-hmm.
are able to recruit from overseas without
Mm-hmm.
getting other employers. So the issue is
Mm-hmm.
it will take time, but soon employers are coming on board to start recruiting nurse auxiliary staffs from overseas. I know once the demand for nurses will go down, the demand for auxiliary staffs will come up. So by next few months, I'll always be the first one to pass the communication. So just stay on the alert. If we have that, if we get employers, if we get other agencies that are willing to recruit auxiliary staffs from Kenya, I'll always communicate to you guys so that you are able to apply and come here as an auxiliary staff.
Mm. Okay, someone else is asking, what's the process of switching from the UK to US? By the way, I know people who go to the UK to practice, but their end goal is US. So what's the process of switching? Also, if one considered
Yeah,
working
I
from the
remember in
UK first, have you had
2018
such
we were a
cases?
group of. I remember in 2018
Mm-hmm.
we were a group of nurses and we call ourselves Daring Abroad and we set a group of WhatsApp which we call it
Mm-hmm.
Daring Abroad. Lots of nurses in that group have managed to
Mm-hmm.
go to US and we demystify
Mm-hmm.
information. People started processing independently. Others went through agency, and I think Cindy, you can organize another forum just to break down the US process for people to understand. So later on, during COVID, US actually
Mm-hmm.
stalled in their processes. So people have been on the journey for long, for 5 years, for 3 years, for 7 years. And I happened to have a conversation sometimes back, and I shared with nurses that if you are destined for US, it doesn't mean that having a destination in US will stop you passing by London. No, be smart. Start with your
Yeah.
process with whichever
Yeah.
agency you're doing, maybe a van. Then, as you do that,
Mm.
always start with IELTS because that is the key. Start with IELTS. Immediately you do IELTS, you can submit your IELTS, your CV,
Yeah.
get your CV aligned. Don't supply
Mm-hmm.
CV reading health centers, reading dispensaries, reading those other names, MCH. Who know MCH? There's a course we did called IMO. Yeah, IMOCO is
Uh-huh.
really required in Kenya, but it's not required in US.
Mm.
So it's not
Uh-huh.
required in UK. Stop having those terms in the CV. Have your CV have terms that are acceptable by those different countries. Have your CV, have your IELTS, submit to the agents. Always will be prioritized.
Mm-hmm.
When you are prioritized,
Mm-hmm.
you now also submit your IELTS
Mm-hmm.
to UK agents. So within 3 months, as you are continuing with Avant, remember Avant don't care where you are. They don't care. You can continue processing with them even if you are in Qatar, even if you are in UK, even if you are in
Yeah.
whichever country. So when you have
Mm.
submitted the documents, they'll process for you your CTFNS, or you can do it by yourself. They can process from step to step. So as you're continuing that way, simultaneously, you'll also be working the UK journey. And the UK journey takes 3 months. Within 3 months, Avant will maybe have replied to your email. You'll be in UK. Will you be able to access your email?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Will you be able to respond to your
Of
email?
course, wherever you are.
Yes. So while you
Yeah.
are in UK, you are now start earning some money. Then until that point when Avant will now tell you you can do the exam, where can we book you the exam? Then you tell them, no, you know what,
Mm.
Avant, don't book me India, don't book me South Africa, book me in London.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do your NCLEX in London. Once you have done your NCLEX, Avant
Mm.
will book your tickets from US, from UK to US. So that time that you are waiting, that time 2 years, 3 years, you'll have spent those 2 years, 3 years in UK. You'll
Mm-hmm.
have even gone to school back in UK and added a different course, added course. And now when you go to US, you'll be hotcake because you have already UK experience. You're no longer the clean nurse from Kenya. So you'll already be on top of your
Mm-hmm.
colleagues in terms of the quality of nurse you are. So I shared that information. It sounded so nice. It sounded so practical. And so many nurses who are under VANT, who are under Helmet Pro, who are under OJP, they did the same. And as we speak, they are in UK. Right before this session, I just received a call from one of them. And they are doing well. They are processing with the VANT as you, who is in Kenya. So who has an upper hand? When you're processing from Kenya or you're processing from UK, the person in UK will have an upper hand. So they are processing to US, the same journey as you are walking, but already they are in UK. They'll get their registration in UK. It means they can come back and practice in UK whenever they want. Then they will go and again register in US, have USRN. So soon, I can tell you, and I can predict to you, we are going to have one license, an international nursing license, which if someone gets that license, they can practice in any country. So these nurses will now go to the hotcake kind of nurses, we call them the travel nurses. If you have had an interaction with nurses in the US, you will hear the term travel nurses. Travel nurses are these nurses who are registered in Australia, who are registered in Ireland, who are registered in New Zealand, who are registered in UK, who are registered in the US. So there are companies that are having healthcare institutions in those countries. Then they call nurses to go to Australia for 2 weeks. You travel to Australia, you go and deliver a service, you come back to London. You travel to New York, you do your service for 1 week. So each and every time you are just traveling, and the employers will be paying for all your costs, hotel bills, tickets, and everything. So this nurse will have registration in Kenya, and this nurse can be a consultant in Kenya. Remember that. This nurse can still be a consultant lecturer in one of the nursing universities, nursing institution in Kenya, can seek employment in Kenya. This nurse can seek employment in UK. This nurse can seek employment in US. Look at those opportunities.
Yeah. There are so many.
That is our time.
I always say there are so
That
many
is our
opportunities.
generation.
Yeah.
So several nurses have done that. They're already in UK when they are still processing to US. So it's possible for you to shift from UK to US. It's possible for you to use London as just your drop off towards your journey to US or Australia or Canada.
Okay, so Mary is asking, approximately how much would you advise someone to have when relocating for upkeep before you get your first salary?
For upkeep, when you're coming to UK, majority of the things will be given by the employer, especially during the 10 days quarantine. It's only for food. And I'll use my example and use other candidates' example. You will spend less money because immediately you arrive, you drop in at the airport, your salary is starting to count. So the next immediate end of the month will be paid. Majority of the NHS are paying on 23rd, 24th. So if you arrive on 16th, you'll be paid on the 23rd. If you arrive on 12th, you'll be paid on 23rd. But if you arrive on 20th, you might not be paid after 16 because the payroll starts from 16. If you arrive on 18, you'll not be paid 23rd this month, you'll be paid next month. So it's just an amount to cover you for a month before you are paid your salary. So for me, I used about 30,000. Majority of the candidates are using 40,000, 50,000. So don't cost so much because it's just for food. And you know, food in UK is so cheap. So 20,000 Kenya shillings is enough. 200 pounds, I mean. 300 pounds is enough. 500 pounds is to those who really need extra. So a simple answer is between 20,000 to 50,000.
And OSCE, do you pay for yourself? Someone asked about OSCE, the exams. Is someone paying for them, the agency, or you're paying for yourself for the exam?
With OSCE, majority of the NHS employers will pay for your everything.
Yeah.
However, some other agencies or some other employers who are small, I know some candidates are everywhere until they bump into small employers, they might request you to pay on loans. But literally, the employer is supposed to facilitate that for you. That is when you look at the cost I've broken down and I've shared that it's 100,000. I've never included that because
Mm-hmm.
employers are supposed to pay for your 153, that is the registration fee, whole
Mm-hmm.
payment. They're supposed to pay
Mm-hmm.
for your skills, for your ticket, for everything. So that's why I've not included that in the breakdown that I normally share to various
Ah.
nurses that are interested.
Mm-hmm. We're almost wrapping up, but I feel like there are a few questions that are actually important. Like this one for how long is the contract with employers? You
Employers
know?
have different contract period. And actually, someone should ask me, what is the type of contract?
Yeah.
Is it a
Yeah.
renewable contract? It's a permanent contract. You are employed permanently, but it's a contract because your visa
Mm-hmm.
expires after 5 years. Previously,
Mm-hmm.
the visa used to expire for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So during our time, we were signing a contract of 2 years or 3 years. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe with the new duration of visa, you can even be able to sign a contract of 5 years. But the shorter the contract, the better.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have signed, for me, I signed a contract of 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Within those three, I'm permanently employed with pension and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But because my visa will expire after 3 years, that is when they made it to be 3 years until I renew again the
Mm-hmm.
visa. So within
Mm-hmm.
the 3 years, I can still decide to move to another employer.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, they used about 2,000, 3,000 to pay for my process.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I need just to pay them something small as an appreciation for me, for them sponsoring me to UK. Then I'm able to relocate to another employer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that rigid like other countries, like I've seen in Kenya. When you get employed, it's like you are totally pinned. No, in UK,
Mm-hmm.
you are flexible. Employers are totally flexible. They understand and they will actually accommodate you. Even if you report today, you do skills, then you tell them, I'm moving to the north, I'm moving to London,
Mm-hmm.
I'm moving to Wales, I'm moving to Scotland. So they will still accommodate you. They will just tell you, just need to appreciate us for bringing you. So you can pay £1,000, you can pay £2,000, 3,000. The maximum I've seen is £3,000. And remember,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be earning, so you'll be able to tell them, no, I won't pay you. Instead, you can deduct me for 2 months or 3 months or 4 months. Then I'll be able to move to another employer. And that brings me to this point. Where should nurses be actually employed? Get employed anywhere, provided you move to UK. Then once you're in UK, you can now change your employer to a place you are always desired to be, to a place where
Mm-hmm.
you have relatives, to a place you feel it's cheaper, and so forth and so forth. So the first thing, get employed, come to UK, then change as per your desires. After
Mm-hmm.
3 years, what happened? After
Mm-hmm.
3 years, the employer will
Mm-hmm.
be seeking me to renew the contract. Because I've
Mm-hmm.
gained too much experience, they're not willing to lose me. Imagine I came as a junior nurse who never knew even English.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm leading the team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a senior nurse. Do you think they will allow me to leave? So they'll be the first one to table their contract again. Mr.
Yeah.
Simiyu, are you willing, are you
Mm,
comfortable to engage with us before
mm,
your visa expires? So before my
mhm,
visa expires, they'll already have my contract, they'll already have applied another visa at their cost.
mhm, mm. Okay. And then someone
Then
else is
what happened
asking.
after 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
After 5 years, I'll be able to apply for indefinite leave to remain in UK. It means I'll have what we call in other countries, they call it permanent residence. It means you
Mm-hmm.
can now come in, go without having visa to apply to
Oh.
come to UK. Then after 5 years, I can add another 12 months, and then I
Mm-hmm.
apply for citizenship, British citizenship. Now with British citizenship, it comes with various benefits. It means I can decide to come back in Kenya and invest in Kenya. Then whenever I decide to move back to UK, I can still come back to UK without restriction. Whichever country I fly to, I'll be treated as a British citizen, which comes with lots of privileges.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay. I think this will be our last question.
Okay.
Someone is asking about experience. What about nurses who are fresh from school with minimal experience? Do they also get a
Mm,
chance?
last year
And
I was
maybe.
so last year I was so vocal so much on young nurses. I know those of us who just finished
Mm-hmm.
school recently, who just did internship, we
Mm-hmm.
get to a point where we struggle to access employment in Kenya. Don't cry.
Yeah.
Don't waste your time. If you actually
Mm-hmm.
are aware, you don't need
Yeah.
an experience to register with NMC. Previously, they had 1 year, 12 months, but they did away with
Mm-hmm.
it. Just finish your training today, you get your license tomorrow, then you apply to NMC, you do your IELTS, immediately you are in UK. I've supported so many young nurses who have come to London, who have gone to Wales, who have gone to Scotland. They were fresh graduates from internship, from KMTC, and their first employment that ever happened to them was UK employment. They never tasted Kenyan employment. So
Okay.
those young nurses, don't cry. Don't be telling yourself that nursing is a scam. It's not. Nursing's
Because there are
lucrative,
no
like
jobs.
all.
Mm, there are no
So
jobs.
I know, but just tell
Yeah.
yourself in your mind, you're not meant to be employed. Like me, I lost a job in Transfer County. I
Mm,
never got a chance to be employed. When I came to
mm,
UK, I realized I'm bigger
mm.
than Transfer County. So maybe you are bigger than those employers that are not giving you jobs.
Jobs.
So when you're a young nurse, you apply somewhere a job and someone says, oh, you don't have experience. But
Mm,
UK is employing nurses without experience. So tell yourself
yeah.
you are much
Mm,
better than the current employer who you're looking for to employ you.
mm,
So don't feel like
true.
you have lost a chance. Don't feel like you are not wanted. It's just that you
Mm,
are beyond your employer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's the end. We're going to end here. We've
Okay.
had
Thank you
almost
so
one
much.
hour. Because I think we've covered all the questions.
Okay.
There's one who was asking about, do we have agencies in Kenya? Yeah, I've seen a few agencies apart from KenyanNurse.
Yeah,
There's
there are lots of
Real Aid.
agencies in Kenya,
Yeah.
especially in town.
Mm,
And for the purpose of my profession, I'll not specify which ones and which ones. But
mm,
I'll mention just one entity, that is KenyanNurse, is an agency in Kenya. They have an office in Eldoret. They are everywhere online, on Facebook, on
mm-hmm.
WhatsApp. We have various KenyanNurse family groups for information
Yeah.
purpose. If you are starting, ensure you join those groups and you ask your
Mm,
question. We shall always try to respond on time.
yeah.
So that you can start your journey, you can walk your journey, you can learn. Every time, try to get more information. However,
Mm,
you're free to actually compare and consult other agencies in Kenya.
mm,
They have come up, several of them. The
mm,
decision is just on you, on when
mm,
to start, which one to use, which way to
yeah.
go.
Mm,
So don't say we don't have resources, we have enough support system.
yeah. Yeah. So I don't think there are any more questions. I think we've covered most of the things that any person would want to know when they're coming relocating. And this applies not only to the UK. I think it applies also if they're going to the US. Most of the
Yeah, I
tips
think
you've
we
shared
can
today. Mm-hmm.
I think we can organize more forums, more sessions so that we are able to break
Yeah.
down each and every process, simplify in such a way that any nurse who is interested can be able
Yeah.
to understand. And with that, they'll be able to make informed decision. Unlike
Mm,
before, when we had no information, nurses were
true.
processing things in darkness without understanding where they're going, how it looks like. And those of you who are in my forum, I always try to share my life experience in UK, how much I'm
Mm-hmm.
earning, much I'm able to spend on rent, how much I'm able to actually save, how much I'm able to send back home. And that should act as at least a point of reference where you can know where you're going. Is it really a place you wish to go? Is it the salary you wish to look for? If not, you
Yeah.
can actually change your decision and prefer another country or prefer to stay back in Kenya. So
Yeah.
I take this chance to thank you so much, Cynthia. Thank you for the chance. And I want to encourage you, keep up doing the good work, keep up
Mm,
doing the new nursing. Keep up
yeah.
pushing, pushing, educate more nurses, inform more nurses, support more nurses with information. And this
Yeah.
is us, me,
Mm,
you, me,
mm,
Cindy, and other nurses who are vigorous, who are outside there doing something unique that actually was not in the nursing school curriculum. But we are doing
yeah.
it, we have learned it, and we have done it. So I want
Mm,
to say, keep up doing the same kind of work, and we shall be there to support you. We shall be there to be available in your forums, to share more
yeah.
information, to support
Mm,
more nurses so that we create a new wave, a new movement, a new feeling of nursing. It's not the
yeah.
old nursing where nurses were only known to only work or only do one thing. Now we are doing everything, and We are everywhere.
Yeah.
I've seen several nurses online on YouTube. I've seen
Mm.
several forums owned by nurses, which is a positive move. Let's keep on doing it. Don't
Yeah.
cry. Don't say nursing is a scam. Nursing is not a scam. And I don't want to say, if you feel like nursing
Yeah.
is a scam, you have to ask yourself several questions. Yes. Where is the problem? Is it me or is it nursing? As much as we want to get so much from nursing as a profession, can we at one point just step back and ask ourselves,
Mm.
how much have we given back to nursing as a profession? What are we doing as individuals? What are we
Mm.
doing as young nurses? Are we just crying and crying everywhere? Oh, go to YouTube, BSN must be employed. Stop that. That one is not going to give you any job.
Yeah.
The government is
Oh.
dealing with BBI, doesn't have time for BSNs to be employed.
Simiyu, there's
Create
someone
jobs,
who has a
come to
question which I think
overseas, go
there's some.
wherever you want. Create your own entity so that one day the government will
Yeah.
be crying for BSNs. The government will be crying for nurses who are experienced. The government will be crying for nurses to come back and better the healthcare system. So don't give yourself that chance of crying. It's your time. It's
Yeah.
our generation. Let's do it, Cindy,
Yeah.
with other nurses who are creating a difference, who are coming with different models of communicating, different models of accessing nurses, different
Yeah.
models of supporting nurses. And those of you who are starting the journey, I welcome you to KenyanNurse. We have a full-fledged system that will actually deliver you from Kiambu to Kent in UK, that will deliver you from Moranga to actual London in UK, that will deliver you from 20,000, 200,000, 50,000 to 500,000. And your dreams will be made valid. And if you have desire to develop back Kenya, you'll be able to create a hospital. And I dream of one day that nurses will come together and establish their own hospital that will be
Mm.
at the level of these big hospitals one day, that
Yeah.
will be built on the basis of nursing, not on the basis of business. And it is only during this generation of ours that we can achieve
Yeah.
that. So it's upon
Yeah.
me, Cindy, and other young nurses to bond
Mm.
over that, to see how can we make it possible. It's possible.
Yeah. Simiyu, there's someone who had a question, which I think we skipped about the interviews. So another question about interview again. So they're asking, are the interviews usually had, and then are they done in Kenya or UK? Are they online? Are they physical? Yeah.
These are just nursing interviews. They are not hard and they are not easy because they are testing you to know whether you're a nurse. That is one thing. Whether you can actually do whatever they want you to do in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
So they're done online
Mm-hmm.
through Zoom, through Microsoft Meeting. So
Mm-hmm.
majorly they are done online
Mm-hmm.
through such online media.
Mm-hmm.
And before you do the interview, you'll always
Yeah.
be prepared by the agency. In Kenya Nurse, we have a support system for
Mm.
interview preparation. And majority of the nurses,
Mm-hmm.
apart from few, are always getting those slots. Whenever we secure a slot, we pass the interview. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not majorly to
Mm-hmm.
punish you. It's just to make employers understand who are they bring on board
Yeah.
because you're coming to work with them. So they need to understand whether you can be able to deliver. So don't be scared whenever you hear about those interviews. They're doable.
Mm-hmm.
And many nurses have done it. It's your time when it comes. You'll cruise through without realizing.
Yeah. Yeah. So the questions that keep coming. I think we have to end in the by 3:40 in the next 6 minutes. But this one, the other question is, someone is saying, I understand that at UK the salary depends on experience also. So do they look at the years of experience since you completed KMTC and worked here in Kenya, or experience of working at their hospital? How do they calculate that the salary?
Mm, In terms of experience, when you come to UK as a registered nurse, all of us are at the same level. All of us,
Mm-hmm.
remember, I said we are at the pre-registered level, whether you have done masters, whether you have 15 years of experience, whether you have nearly years of experience, we are all coming as
Mm-hmm.
pre-registered nurse. And when we get
Mm.
employed, we now move to band 5. All of us at the
Yeah.
same point. It's
Yeah.
from there that now your experience will start building up. And they
Mm-hmm.
won't look at the experience in terms of how many years you have worked in the UK. They look at your
Yeah.
output. They look at your commitment. They
Yeah.
look at your quality of nursing. And that's why you see people like us, like in Kenya, had only 2 years of experience.
Mm-hmm.
In the UK, I've added 1 + 8 months, 1 year and 8 months years of experience. And I've already, within that period, I've already had a promotion to another level. Why we still have
Mm-hmm.
nurses who have worked in Kenya for 10 years, they have worked in UK for 5 years, they have 15 years of experience, but they are still not moving to another level. So the experience is not really going to matter. What's going to matter here is once you arrive, how are you going to improve your quality of care? How are you going to show your compassion? How are you going to actually add value to the team you have been added to? So for those who are asking if they are experienced, if they're not experienced, when you come, we are going to have level field of play. Now from there, you can create your experience.
Ah, that's nice. Okay. And then someone can come as a nurse or midwife. You can come as either, right?
Yeah,
They don't
someone,
have like,
and
like.
NMC made it easy this time. When you're a registered nurse in Kenya, you have either done Bachelor of Science in Nursing, you have either done Kenya Registered Community Health Nurse, you have either done Kenya Registered Nurse. Those are the kind of cadres that are in Kenya. So with those, they actually understand the Kenyan training system, which we have done 4-in-1. Like for me, while in Kenya, I was a midwife, I was a psychiatric nurse, I was a community nurse, I was a general nurse, I was everything. So you are allowed to register without adding any extra training as a registered nurse adult in the UK. You can still register as a psychiatric mental health nurse in the UK. You can still register as a pediatric nurse. You can still register as a learning and disability nurse. So from BSN, from KRCHN, from KRN, you have those options. When you are creating an account, you just make a choice. Which one should I take? But midwives, you must have a midwifery training for you to choose midwifery. So that is the only area that is slightly specialized. But the rest, you can come from BSN, you come from KRCHN, and you apply to register as a mental health nurse. So slots, interviews are there for midwives too, but they are not that many as for nurses. But if you're a midwife, you walk the same journey, you process the same as nurses, and you will be employed as nurses at band 5, and your career will be the same as nurses. It's just that midwifery in UK is slightly special as compared to what is happening in Kenya.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. I think we have wrapped up. I think the questions are over. Thanks so much for making the time. I know you're heading to work, but you made the time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Also for
so thanks
the forum.
For the time. Yeah. If
Thank
anybody has more questions,
thank you for
nurses
who have taken their time off their busy schedule to attend this forum, have this conversation going. And we look forward to having more session. Whenever you need more of such session, you can look for Cindy, and maybe she can organize for another session based on my availability. And with that, we can always be available to respond to questions. If you still have more questions, reach out to her, and she will still send those questions to me. I respond through her, and she'll still send back the responses. If you are able to access me, to access KenyanNurse WhatsApp group, still access those KenyanNurse family WhatsApp group. If you are able to access my number, still you can access and still send me those questions. I'll be able to respond to them. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Thank you so much, nurses. And we look forward to creating a different definition of nursing, a different generation of nursing. And it's our time. It's your time.
Yeah. So otherwise, thanks so much. I'll end the live here. And yeah, thanks for making the time for everybody who is there, the 36 of you. So see you next time. Bye. Bye, Paul. All right.